When you start a new lettering vector, the first thing you might be tempted to do is to start on a terminal. What do I call a terminal? Is the end of a letter. So this is a terminal, this is a terminal, this also is a terminal. Usually terminals are angles. This is a terminal too, but usually these are angles, and this is where you want to start. What's the problem with this technique? The problem is that you are doing manually something that is usually very spontaneous. So when you're writing with a pencil and you're writing letters, and maybe you're being very careful, but usually the terminals are done very quickly, very fast. And what is very characteristic of things you do quickly, fast, and without thinking is that they are very spontaneous. The problem is when you're crafting something by hand is that this is everything but spontaneous. And usually when you start on a terminal like this, if you do something like that, for example, you do this, and you do this. Let's say you're gonna do something like more or less that. Okay. This. Here you put a point like that. So you draw your lettering and you stop. You make straight points on the angles. Okay. So you'll see this is going to be very subtle, but okay. Well, let's switch to full black. Here, remove this. Okay, so this is done pretty quickly, but you can see that my angles are everything but natural. Even this curve, but the problem is that it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like if it was really done by hand. Why? Is because I cannot assess with my eyes of what a real angle would look like. So for that, there is a really great technique that I discovered really recently. And I want to give a shout out to Daniel Palacios and Rob Clarke, because these are the letterers that made me aware of the process. This process is the overlapping path technique. So what the hell is this? I'm going to show you this in a moment. First thing, you start on a curve. And this is a really good habit. Try to always start on a curve. This is really way better than starting on an angle. So I start on a curve, and instead I'm going to do this terminal right here. Instead of stopping here like this, instead of stopping here, I'm going to start again. So in this direction, instead of doing this and then go here, I will go a little bit further here. So you see, I'm tracing here and I'm going a little bit further, then go a little bit up like this, and then I'm tracing my curve. And the terminal, the angle, will be created by the overlap of those two paths. So we're gonna finish this letter by using the same technique. Here I'm going to overshoot a little. Okay, so I'm tracing my curve like that. And instead of stopping here, I go a little further. Stop here. Go here. Then here I trace my curve. And there you have the terminal, the angle here, that is created by the overlapping path instead of a point here. Then I'm going to do exactly the same here. I go up here. So my curve, my handle was not long enough. I do this. Whoa. Here. I do this, and then I can trace my letter like that. Oops. Going to overshoot a little here. Like that. Same process. I'm going to go a little further here. Instead of putting my point here, I'm going a little further. Imagine that there is an imaginary line here that keeps on tracing like that. Okay, so I'm clicking here, going back here, and I finish my lettering like that. Okay, so I can do a little cleanup, maybe do this like this. Okay, going to hide the model, switch back, and there you can see, I'm going to zoom back a little, that my terminals are way more natural. Like, this is really, if you try to just try this with any lettering drawing that you have next to you. Do the first technique where you put the point exactly on the terminal, exactly on the angle, and then do the same process. Don't do it any slower or faster. Do the same process with the overlapping path technique. I can guarantee you that you will have much better results. So you can see that this is very simple. This is a really simple trick, but this is brilliant. And the reason why it works is very simple. It's exactly like I told you in previous tutorials. You will have the link in the description and in the article. The less points you have when you do your curves, the more you let the curve happen naturally, the more natural it will look. And it is exactly the same here. Instead of trying to replicate yourself with your eye and your hand, the angle, you let it happen naturally by letting the curves, the Bezier curves, do the work for you. And this is exactly why the Bezier curve exists. The curves are mathematically calculated, so you place points and you let the curves do the work for you. So let's say we're done. We have finished our vectorization process, and now we want to export it. We can do this, we cannot do this right now because we still have those little shapes here and here that we want to get rid of. So what do? We use the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder has multiple modes, and what we're going to use first is the Add tool. This is this one. This is the first mode in the Pathfinder. This mode will allow us to merge all the internal shapes, such as this one and this one. So you add, and those shapes will disappear. They will be merged inside the bigger shape. Second thing you're going to do is use the divide mode. The divide mode here will shatter all the distinct pieces of your vector into little pieces, just like if it was a puzzle. So you click on this, then you ungroup, object, ungroup, and then you just have to select all the pieces you don't want and remove them.